supervise recovery coaches in a volunteer environment. So it's people who they're not getting paid, so it's a little bit different. They're members of an advocacy organization, and they get assigned different people to help, and so it's a little bit different.
Okay. Some Paul, this question it actually says, if this is a new role for you, and how does it impact your current job description? So if I may, I like to reword this. When it was a new role for you, how did it impact your current job description when you went there? How did that new role in that environment impact you?
I was doing it all myself because they weren't trained yet. So it was really a great help because it was more of a team. So we had people to support each other and to learn from each other. So I think for me, it changed it pretty significantly, but I was also, working coach and doing the supervisor. So I also, I don't know how many people actually coach and supervise at the same time, but I think there's a bunch of people that do that. Wow. So, we have our own supervisors, but I actually don't know if that's a lot of people that do that or not, but probably I would think there's some, right?
Yes, there are some. Sarah raised her hand. She acknowledges that.
Yep. So it so to put on the different hat and to be able to have the ability to to help people through and support people through a lot of new stuff that they didn't know. I mean, I was around doing the thing for a long time, so and a lot of people just had a few days training, so it was a lot. So for them to pick up the competencies, so and to do the supervision piece, and not to be able, because I didn't take this class, not to be able to sign off on their hours even. So wow. It was difficult.
Yes,
but
sir.
we still did it though.
Very, very important piece there. Thank you, Paul, for sharing. Let me see. Someone's working in a non-clinical. Let me see. How do you sustain a non-clinical, recovery-oriented mindset, even if you are a clinician and or work in a clinical environment? Who fits this mold? Trying to sustain non-clinical, recovery-oriented, but you're a clinician. Oh, Eddie. How do you sustain that?
I work in a clinical setting. So the question is, what I answered was weekly supervision is very important for me to give and receive. It's important for me to connect to other peer recovery coach supervisor, because it helps me not to get, as they put in the book, peer drifting.
Yes.
Yeah, and regular review of the recovery coach training book, which I try to read, because just because I went to the academy doesn't mean I retain all that information, So I want to go back and read this and the other things that I've been exposed to, because my brain works. I have to read things a couple of times before I could really spit it out to someone else. I might be able to pass a test, but then ask me a week later, I might not remember that. So I think that training, repetition is critical, because being in this environment and dealing with all these moving parts and sometimes not clear workflow, working with a social worker, resource specialist, and all these clinicians, sometimes things get smeared, and it's a challenge.
It definitely is.
And staying pure, it's I have to be focused, because I must confess, I've drift at times,
Mm,
you know. But,
interesting.
so that's my response to that question.
Mm. Wow, Eddie, that's real good insight. I can say this: you move like a doctor, and if we know about doctors, doctors constantly have their books, and they constantly are in their books reading and staying up on the new things that are going on. Lawyers, well, not all lawyers, because they have interns and paralegals that do it, but they
Yeah.
have their law books that they have to go in because new laws are constantly coming out. So
Yeah.
if they do that in
Not
their
the public defenders.
Yeah.
some of them, Jay,
Yeah.
if they do that, then we have to ask ourselves, how do we not do the same thing in our
Yeah.
practice to be good at what we're doing? Because
Yeah.
people's lives depend on it. Yes, Mr. Paul, PA.
And in that, with that in our practice, I just want to share. At the end of last year, I worked on a curriculum in New York for New York State with a couple of folks there, and between recovery coach and peer specialist and a recovery specialist and all this stuff, the term that they came up with that was used was a peer practitioner,
Yes.
because it is a practice. If we don't put this stuff to work and it becomes second nature for us, it's that whole peer, what was the term again? Peer fading, drifting makes
Yeah.
me think of ethical fading. Like, oh yeah, I'm ethical, and then all of a sudden, little white thing, these little pieces we start. Oh, we'll let that go. Little white lie here, white lie there. Next thing you know, you're in a whole other place with your ethics, right? So, and that's the same thing with that peer drifting piece. So it's really this practice, and it requires us working together, right, with our teams and with each other.
Absolutely. Paul's talking about that blurred line. I can't think of the musician who created the song, but the name of the title was Blurred Lines. And that's what I think about when you talk about peer drifting or peer drifter. But closing us out, what I want to read is this last one. What are you doing to take care of yourself and or achieve balance? And I'm going to come to Julia, if you may. What are you doing to take care of yourself and or achieve balance?
Oh, that was a really good one. My first reaction was, haha. I think we all have to, like, okay, so let's, and it's interesting because, when we do our trainings, we're all about self-care and wellness, and, the balance of, you're in the middle, there's this and there's that, but you're in the middle and the self-care. So the way I do some self-care, I love walking, running, and hiking. And I have a deep-rooted spirituality.
Wow.
So I make time for that every day, with meditation too. Yeah, and I think giving myself the space and time for that models that for the staff and the volunteers here, and we push that. That's what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. Keep that in mind, because we're going to be going into a part of self-care. It's funny that they would have this piece in there talking about core competency. Self-care should be a part of our core competency as we move forward. Robin Thicke, thank you, Michael. Michael. Robin Thicke, Blurred Lines, exactly.
And I think Pharrell wrote it, and then they sued.
They got sued
because it was with the guy Marvin Gaye riffed, right?
Now, I'm going to move on to this next module, but you see how we know the history of things that we like in life? This is the same way. I'm learning so much that I didn't know about this recovery world and the history of it, the origin of it, the different people who have been involved with it. And I wanna know it to be able to give it away, just like Michael and Paul were able to talk about who wrote that song, but who was the original writer. That's the history. This recovery piece has that too, and this core competency that's found in here. People, do not put this piece down. It's very important. We're going to revisit some of this as we go forward. But at this time, I want to hand this over to Paul. But before I go, also let you know we are being recorded. You are movie stars again today. Okay, that's for Julio and to go over so we can see how this pilot is actually working out. Okay.
We have a poll. We have a poll though. Coming up with the supervising peers poll. There we go.
Here we go.
Oh, and the Brave Space poll. This is a continuation of what we have been working with and together on, you know, in the past few days. Oh, I love the blue lines.
I know. Being present, y'all sure have. Zoom etiquette.
Guys, I can never see the bottom one.
Oh, other.
Oh, okay.
Okay. There he is. We got everybody, Paul. That's about it.
Yes. Yes. Here we go. And gonna share the results.
Wow.
Respect.
RESPECT.
Being
Time, being present. It's a good poll.
and being brave. And we have one more, which focuses on what we were just, you know, taking a look at with the supervising peers poll. And in which environments do you or your RCs work?
Yes, there it is.
Okay, we'll document some of these numbers, some data.
Pull this down some so you can see. Community collections.
And a couple more.
Yep.
All right. So, all right, look at that, Mr. Mark. Peer Recovery Support Center takes the lead.
It takes the lead. Yes, it does. And everything else pretty much balances out. Yes.
You know, it's because as we were, you know, just the same way as there's supervisors that also coach, you know, we're also in different, there's some of us that are in a few, you know, different varied settings. So that's really interesting to see how a lot of these competencies, right, and these pieces all fit regardless of the setting.
Absolutely.
Oh, thank you, everyone. All right, so Mr. Mark, thank you for energizing us up. We are going to move on to page 45, and we're going to look at Introduction to Systems Thinking. Okay. So
Can I ask a quick question?
please do.
So I was a little bit confused, like in the core competencies with one of these, and it was the knowledge of, I don't know exactly how it was worded, but I can't find it. The knowledge of like the laws, applicable laws and regulations. Now, is that talking as like a I know this is like a evolving career, an evolving thing. What are we talking about when we're talking about like the applicable laws? Is that to our place that we're working out of, or is that like as a recovery coach supervisor? Just any clarity on that.
HIPAA laws. CFR 42. You know, mandatory reporters. Regulations. What type of regulations does the job, the place where you work at? What regulations are they under? New laws that come out that implement and affect you. Corey, things that affect a lot of our people we work with, the recoveries. So laws such as that are applicable to the population that you work with and the place that you work under. We have to be very cognizant of those particular laws and regulations that are at play, especially as a supervisor, so we can make sure that our recovery coaches are aware of that too, because there's a lot of ethical things that are involved with that to protect people.
Yeah, and it'll vary, you know, if you're in the recovery center, you have one set. If you're in a clinical setting where now you have to do billing with Mass Health, and there's a whole other set of regulations and you know, stuff with that. And then you're going into you know, having grants, you know, then that has a whole other, you know, set of, you know, idiosyncrasies that you have to follow and you know, so depending on where you're at, you want to be aware of, you know, the things that are going to affect, you know, your work.
Yeah, and I can already tell Autumn, there are people who are right here amongst us, and I'm pretty sure they're very well versed in some of these laws and regulations, because their respective places they've been working at in a long time.
Well, and I work out at outpatient behavior clinic, but I was just and like are aware of those laws and regulations, but I guess I wasn't clear on what it meant exactly in terms of the competency. If it is it the people we're working with, is it the role as a recovery coach? Like, that's all I needed. I know there was a question at one point. I was involved in setting up the pilot of a volunteer recovery coaches, and like that was a huge like gray area because these people are volunteers, so like what laws really apply to them. You know, working out of an outpatient behavior center, there is HIPAA guidelines, there is the substance abuse, but then in a volunteer setting, do you know what I mean? Like if you're a volunteer recovery coach, that's a little bit different when it comes to like laws per se.
Yeah, I think Jack has something to say on that. Yes, Jack.
So even on the volunteers, right? It's like I feel like I've got to let them know, you know, that as long as they're under the umbrella of our organization and they're out in the community, they're privy to they have to follow the same I don't know, code is right, but yeah, the same guidelines, you know, as if they were getting paid. But it can be a slippery slope with you know, volunteer, because you have to have a really committed volunteer that's willing to commit to, you know,
Following protocol and, you know, playing in as a team and
yeah, it's like I'm just a
following the
volunteer, man. I
guidelines.
don't know about your HIPAA stuff, but listen, man, you got, you know, so you know, if it's a volunteer, not letting them really be in a position where it could affect the organization. You know what I mean, Autumn? But
Put it like this, Autumn. If somebody is under your umbrella and they're volunteer and something happens, when the lawsuit comes out, oh, okay. And when that's all right. If the lawsuit ever comes out, I cannot say, well, they were volunteer and I'm exempt from any responsibility. Right. Under the color of law, I am responsible because they come under my umbrella. So whatever they do, I'm responsible for that. So the lawsuit will include them. At the end of the day, I'm gonna be the one paying for it. So yes, they're your responsibility.
Yeah, and Julia mentions laws and policies regarding discrimination, sexual harassment, policy for grievances, and there's a whole slew of different stuff. I would say, go speak to your HR department, and see, they might have given you a handbook, a bigger organization will already have that type of things together, and go through it just so and even sometimes, we work in clinical settings knowing what their pieces are. We're here to support them, even though some of our pieces might slightly differ. We still have to support, them being effective, right? Which means, following along. And this brings up a thing, Mr. Mark, like, which I've been, these sections on core competencies are short in here. And it seems
Yes.
like, oh yeah, I got this, but you can spend half a day on each one of these at least, so there's, a lot of stuff here to really, pick apart, so we're just going through it, giving you a 30,000 foot view, and hopefully you will take this and now, dig into some of the pieces that really will support you in moving forward.
Absolutely.
So, speaking of moving systems thinking. Now you all started watching, some of the videos for Peter Senge, and I believe it was a couple of 12-minute pieces, but Jack might have gotten extra credit with watching, some extra videos, which is always a good thing. How did you feel? Would somebody like to read that systems thinking, that quote here?
I'll take it, Paul.
Page 45.
Systems thinking, a set of synergistic analytic skills used to improve the capability of identifying and understanding systems, predicting their behaviors, and devising modifications to them in order to produce desired effects. These skills work together as a system.
Thank you, Steve. Now, in looking at
Paul, Paul, can I jump in there before? Because I had to rewrite that so I could understand it.
Okay, tell us.
It's a set of working together by using analysis to logical reasoning. Because when they put all that synergistic analytic, my brain could not process it, though I kind of understand. So basically working together by using analysis or logical reasoning. I said, why didn't they say that?
Well, and that's awesome, Eddie. Thank you for saying that, because we're peers and we use human experience language, right? And some of these words are real fun to learn, and I got to give props to dictionary and .com, with the thesaurus and that's an awesome thing to hear here. You're going beyond to really, get understanding. So that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. In looking at the underlying principles and systems thinking, these pieces here, it's showing what it strengthens. How does this coordinate or apply or fashion with a recovery-oriented system of care, with the ROSC? How do these principles align? What came to mind as you read through this? DJ.
When I was reading the underlying principles, I looked at wholeness and interaction as being holistic is understanding that you're part of one source. And then you interact on those strengths. And that the circularity is the fact that I can relate that to life. There's really no beginning and no end. You're going around and around, where linear is time limits and expectations and emergence. I don't know if it means emergency or emerging into something.
Ah,
Emerging in, I look at it both ways because for where I'm living now, the opioid crisis is an emergency. In order to address that as a whole, open-minded, and a continuation process, we can emerge into the community.
wow, thank you. Thank you. And already the pieces are supporting each other. We're already starting to look at this and how they build. Did this?
And the patterns.
Oh, patterns?
Pattern. Yeah, there's patterns, purpose, and relationships. Do you want me to stop?
I was gonna see if anyone else had any.
Oh, all right. You know me. Sorry.
No. Thank you. So let's hear from one more person. I know there's another piece in there. And DJ, you went through half of the list, right? So looking at patterns and purpose, where else do we find purpose? Sarah.
I mean, for me, I find purpose just in my life and my family, you know, and absolutely in my work, the work that I do.
Wonderful. So, and it just so happens to be one of the 4 pillars of recovery, right? So what's the reason that all of this, you know, is working together? Where are we putting all our energy into these relationships, right? So all these different pieces, right, within those 8 dimensions. Let's just, you know, that's what I'm imagining, that beautiful color Ferris wheel of the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? And that now is with the individual. But now if we step back, you know, that's in our systems that we're working within, right? And how did they all work together, you know? On the next page, on page 46, could somebody read the skills up top, those 4 skills, please?
I'll read them.
Boundaries.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
Go ahead. Am I gonna go?
No, go ahead, Michael. Thank you.
Exploring boundaries, appreciating multiple perspectives, understanding relationships, thinking in terms of systems themselves. Do you want the definitions or?
Yeah, I could read the whole thing.
All right, I'll read one. Exploring boundaries, understanding the exclusion, and marginalization of stakeholders and the issues that concern them.
Okay. Sarah, go ahead.
Appreciating multiple perspectives, how and why stakeholders frame issues in different ways. Understanding relationships, networks of interconnections within and across systems. Thinking in terms of systems themselves, organized wholes with properties that cannot be anticipated by analyzing any one part of the system in isolation.
So how do you feel, you know, looking at your system, right, of your organization, how it might impact your perspective?
I'll jump in there, Paul.
Go ahead.
Unfortunately, as it stands right now, there's a lot of breakdown in our system. We have different, you know, groups, like we have the recovery coach group, we have the addictions team, and then the psychiatric units. And what we're seeing a lot of is people just working in their own silos, and where we would be so much more effective if we could work more collaboratively. And, you know, and it's a fairly new program. It's 2.5, 3 years old. So some of these barriers are getting broken down, but it's really interesting to sit back and see this play out, because ultimately the people that are coming through our doors are suffering from it.
Well, thank you. So with that, we're going to take a look a little bit closer. We're going to do an exercise together. So if you take 2 minutes to fill in that blue box on page 46 on the bottom, okay, my organizational system. Take 2 minutes to fill it in there, and then we'll go from there in 2 minutes. All right, so as you continue to look at that on page 48, it's asking for one challenge that you're currently facing. Okay, so everyone can individually write in that one challenge. And then I'll give the directions for the breakout. All right, so the goal here in your rooms, we're going to have 3 groups, right? Because we're a small group, and you're so that this form will also facilitate the recorder to just report out to the group afterwards. Okay, so you're going to pick whichever challenge you're going to work on, and you're going to speak about what parts of the system contribute to the challenge, how or why, and then what are just the first steps, 1, 2, 3 steps, in order to address the challenge. What would you take? Okay, so you wrote down, you went through looking at your system. I know it was brief, you can always take this and really, dig into it, of course. You wrote down one challenge, and now you're going to share them in your group. You're going to pick one, and you're going to look at what contributes to it and what can we do. Okay, and you're going to have 10 minutes. I see a confirming nod, some thumbs up. Excellent. Mr. Mark? This is just too much material, it's wonderful. It's really, really great. You're muted, Mark.
Remember how Blair, as I'm starting to go in my mind, they was like this with it, pulling a little thing. And I noticed when you train with them, sometimes they don't do all in their material. Blair told me. She said, don't worry about that, Mark. You know, so that's why I say, what is the key? And this thing we can go over with Julio when we talk to her. What is the principle that we really want them to get and stress? And because I definitely want to work on that equity piece. But I wanted to be able to flow and not be, oh, I got to make sure equity got to be in here. It has to be in the form of conversation. Otherwise, it can be awkward, and it may take a little time for that to happen. But anytime you hear something that equity can be included, you can include it. You may not even have to use the word equity sometimes. Yeah. You know.
So can I ask a question really quick? Because someone brought up, and this is my feeling, and it's personal. When people are supervising and coaching through an organization, that to me is taking equity away from the supervisor, because you got a shit ton of responsibility as a supervisor, and then you got a coach as well. But people don't remember that the supervisor is not only responsible for their team, but their clients. So if, like, for example, Daryl has 20, Julie Pike has 15 assignments, you know, you have whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's a layer effect. So that to me is not equitable.
That's true.
And it's not self-care.
That's true.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Because you're essentially responsible for those 60, 70
whatever
people, right? Yeah. So Mark, quick question. Were you planning on, you know, with the time, and the conversation was just so excellent, that, you know, we were skipping the poll. So I apologize if you were planning on skipping the polls, and then I was like, oh, the polls, you know?
I was, the conversations were full. Just looking at doing that module, they said do popcorn thing. That core competency is like, okay, popcorn, I get it. Because I do have something I would love to give to Autumn. But I may say that for the next training, because it's everything.
Yeah, here's the thing. That was only one question. What if we had people that weren't as experienced, and that, you know, and there were more questions? You know, there goes the whole other next module where it really shows that we need, you know, there's a need, you know.
Yeah, that's when our facilitation skills have to kick in and know how to move smoothly. But on the flip side, these are people who sit in the seats as supervisors or about to become supervisors. So I think they come with a certain amount of knowledge, and it's always good to utilize the room as well, you know. And I think that was done. She didn't, because it's not clear. But if we had gave her the material where she could see, it shows you all the different things with laws and regulations.
So
I'm gonna send it to y'all though. Yeah.
We're about
We're
about 10 minutes behind right now, because maybe 5. No,
we
10
started
minutes.
5 minutes late. Yeah. So then I'm probably extra 5.
You know, we'll just have them, you know, share out from, you know, the report out, you know, and then we'll, you know, I'll just button it up and go on to the next piece, which is Kim, all about leadership.
Yeah, because my main thing is always, because lunch is at 11:30, so that's what I'm always cognizant of.
My piece is only 15 minutes.
No, it's not.
No, there's two.
What?
There's 2 of them.
No. I'm doing all about leadership.
The discussion, and then there's the exercise.
It's the exercise. You send them to a breakout room. If you turn the page,
oh my God.
Page.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
10.
I didn't.
You got it. It's just going through the exercise and then having them report out. It's a dyad.
But I send them in rooms. It'd be 2 apiece. And you just process them with them. That ain't, you know.
Yeah, page 50, 52.
I get it.
53.
Yeah. What the fuck?
No. It's all right. It's all right. So it's all
I
right.
don't know how I missed that.
Yeah.
Because when I was looking at the directions in TOT, it just says 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, but it's the next piece. It says 25, so you know we can make up the time there. You know, it could be like a 20, or that we can have them in a breakout room for 15 minutes.
On page 53, 10 minutes,
I would say 10. It's only 2 of them because they're
just so I know.
Yeah, and then when they come back, you can always process. They're gonna have things to talk about.
Yeah, because there's more groups. Don't forget, since they're
Yeah.
smaller, there's going to be 5 sets of people reporting out.
And the instructions are on page 10, Kim.
I got the instructions. We need a reporter, recorder, someone to report back. I got that all memorized. I've done it enough.
And you could just read the instructions right out of the book, page 53.
Yeah, right out, yeah.
Yeah. I got this.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. It's gonna be interesting to see what type of leadership styles people have picked. And it's funny because on page 10, right, these are Q's and A's that you can use. You don't have to use them all. Discussion points and questions. These are,
Julia just sent a video. Did you all get a text from Julia?
I got a text. Yeah.
Just wishing me luck. That's it.
Because Jack is in this video and it's 2.5 minutes. I've seen it before. I actually.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
When did we show that?
So let's think about that really quick.
And what is it about for us? We want to pick the right module for it.
Recovery coaches, the kind support people need.
That will go after the leadership then, wouldn't it? Because if it's the kind of support that people need.
Yes.
That's with leadership.
Yeah, so we're upping Jack as leading, because here he is on video, right?
Yes.
Being the voice for us, essentially.
So we'll close it out with that, because I think I do the leverage of leadership matrix, and then we'll close it out. And now we want to take a special look at someone who's practicing leadership in the
field, in the community.
Yeah, I'm gonna allow you. Paul, can you? And we ain't gonna tell them who it is.
Yep. Here, let me.
No, that's beautiful. I'm glad Julia sent that. That's being creative. That's beautiful.
Aha, here he is. It's only 2.5 minutes.
Hey, Julio's funny, huh? She ain't even here, and she's still pulling strings. and look at what she said.
Wait, hold on.
Okay. Oh, that's so funny. She
all right, so I have it all ready and set. So
okay, we got 14 seconds. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and action. Oh, that's their now it's the 15-second roll down. 2, 1. Here we go.
all right.
Wow. That was not enough time.
Yeah.
It's
It's gonna take a little, just take a little time. So,
Give us a chance to pick one of the cases. I don't know, you guys have the same problem? Someone, because we didn't, me, Carmen, and well, where did he go? And Paul, we didn't get to this part.
okay, so you can you how did everybody else do? I know these pieces are always short. Well, let's see with the interest of time. I'm sure that, you know, the three of you can speak on what the experience was, you know, with the challenge. You know, you had
Okay.
mentioned one earlier to start. So, you know, and I want to make like the wonderful Jim Wolfing and say, hey, whatever you got is good.
Yeah.
So, so room one, Autumn, Jack, and Steve. What was your report out?
Sorry, trying to unmute. So we all had different challenges. We decided on like the idea of silo working and like not working together as like a collaborative team. And then so we took one like I think this can be found in many different work environments, but like we took it from Steve's approach of like working or his location of working. So in the ED, and like some of the challenges of that was like the actual physical location of where they're working. And, you know, ego being a part of one of the challenges of working in this thing. We also talked about like with the lack of collaboration, we could be doing double time per se. So like working towards one thing and then coming to find out that this team is, or another part of the moving part is working towards the same thing. Like housing, for example, let's just say housing. I've often worked in a place where the recovery comes to me and says, okay, we're working on housing. We do 3 housing applications to turn around and find out that the CSP team had done the same exact applications already. You know what I mean? And so some of the solutions to the problem, we thought maybe team meetings would be a huge thing. So then we can talk about this stuff in an open forum and like, okay, you're working on this. So like there's more clarity in like what responsibilities each system or each part of the system has.
That's excellent, and that's I've found that a whole bunch too, because you know that dialogue and connection with the recovery is really crucial. Because if not, they're like, hey, I want help, so maybe this one could help me faster or differently than that one, and then next thing you know, everybody's doing the same thing, and it is energy and costly and all that stuff.
Right.
So excellent. Group 2, DJ, Julia, Michael, and Sarah.
Yep. So the one that we chose was working with other organizations is sometimes a challenge, like working with housing, Department of Children and Families, just different systems that, so we don't want to duplicate services. Sometimes it's a challenge is not having that open communication. So like you just said, so we're doing similar services. Also, them understanding what our role is and like what our scope of practice is, and having an MOU to clearly define their role and our role and how we can work collaboratively. So we said one of the steps we could take would be to speak with them, keep a line of open communication, to explain, what we do, and, email communication, drop off materials, schedules, groups, things like that.
Excellent. Yeah, the MOU piece really clarifying, what it is, right? And then group 3, Carmen, Eddie, and Paul. What was your conversation like? What was one takeaway from what you had?
if you, I will jump in that one, if the team doesn't mind, because in regards to Carmen's sharing, it was more of a recovery coach center where peers, leaders, or participants are pushing their pathway onto others and not having clear roles. Is that correct, Carmen?
Well, they're just not aware, like some of our members, we have members from different levels of recovery, and they're just not aware of different pathways or just the support overall of what we do of recovery coaching, so I was just thinking it'd be best that if they could just if they could partake in the recovery coach so that they could have that knowledge so that they could better support themselves and they could better support their peers.
Okay.
So them having a coach themselves?
Just to understand the information, not to be a recovery coach themselves, no, just for them to understand the support role that we do here, because we do recovery coaching every day, even though we're not working in it, but that's what they're doing with their peers, so I just think it's better that if they partake in that so that they can really understand the role as supporting another peer.
Yeah, so maybe putting on a workshop, or during supervision, focusing in, honing in on what's the role, what's your elevator speech, how are you going to be, learn about other pathways, or how can you help foster new pathways, maybe take the BSAS multiple pathways class coming up right next month, something of that nature. So wonderful. So you see how, I'm already seeing how you're already kind of implementing it, just by talking about it. How would you now grow this or use this, for your organization? This type of model of thinking, of looking at it.
Well, for us here, we model it. And that's how they learn, by them seeing us, or the staff. I really don't know, because we do, I honestly, I do this with my eyes closed. I love working here. It's not clinical. It's I'm talking to a friend actually, so we just model it, and they learn. We speak to our members, or because we have levels of different memberships, so we just teach as we go.
So
Yeah.
so looking at the systems thinking, you're looking at the system, like right now you've been looking at some challenges,
Mhm.
and what you can do with it, right? How can you use this to continue growing and improving upon your services?
I would say
Maybe
proactive, solution minded, critical thinking, because and regardless of the setting that we find ourselves as recovery coach or supervisor, there's always going to be some type of gray area that's going to create a challenge. And so instead of focusing on the problem, let's focus in on the solution by putting our thinking hats, and collaborating, with each other.
Excellent. Okay. Autumn?
I think that, with, along the lines of what we had talked about, like the team meetings and the whatever, maybe going to our supervisor, because everyone has a supervisor, and saying, hey, I noticed that we did 87 housing applications for Joe last week. And I think maybe if we all get on the same page and talk about it through team meetings, I think people are I know I am a lot more receptive if you come to them with the problem and a possible solution, instead of just a problem. And so this is the problem, how you gonna fix it? Instead of here's the problem, here's one of my ideas to fix it. And then that collaboration can be done with, your supervisor. So you're starting at the top in some ways, you know what I mean? And then, yeah, that's
So
just,
they might just be likely to say, wonderful, do it, go do it, right? And empower you,
Mhm.
right, to go and take that action. So, and I hear advocacy, managing up, as Mark is saying, and really sounds like recovery coaching to me, right? You're now just coaching, the ones around you, and the folks that don't do our work, just bringing a little information, supporting them, and really we're bringing value to them at the end of the day. I'm supporting your role, right? So we could all grow. So excellent.
And the bigger a place, the bigger, we're getting big so fast. One of my things that I brought up was just, the bigger we get, it's not an intimate group anymore where we all knew what each other were doing. Now it's like, I'm in my, like Steve said it beautiful, the silo. I'm in my silo and someone else is in the recovery center and someone else is in the courts and someone else is in the IOP. And once in a while, we'll all, gather, like just picture 18 addicts gathering, right? So the energy and it really, I don't have a clue as to what most of the quote unquote team is doing. We use the word team a lot, but it gets so big that everyone goes off in their little worlds, and coming together gets more difficult the larger we get.
So it sounds like that connection it becomes more and more crucial,
Right.
to the organization,
Right.
essentially, because you're still out there leading, doing your work, but for the organization, that becomes more crucial. DJ, do you have a quick one so we can move on?
Well, I was just going to address the fact that what Carmen said, there's a lot of people in recovery that believe their way is the best way. So the team that I'm in, we decided that none of us have the right to define somebody else's recovery.
Day one of Recovery Coach Academy, right? What does recovery mean to you? Right, and we're not here to define it for anyone. So that's excellent, and that includes looking at the systems. We're here to do our job. We don't need anyone defining it. We're here to do it and to support each other in doing it, so that we could all just work, play nice in the sandbox, right, at the end of the day, and grow and really, because it's growing more and more, and a lot of attention is being put into it, and a lot of funding is coming from all over the place.
Right.
So how do we now really steward this movement, and move it forward for everyone? So thank you. We are going to be talking about stewarding. So Kim is going to have a conversation with us around leadership.
Awesome. And thank you guys so much. And system thinking and leadership is so closely related. You learn in system thinking that you just spoke about is critical thinking skills, problem solving. You got to problem solve right on the moment, supervisory competency. That's all part of leadership skills. So they're all super connected. And if I can, with that, have everyone turn to page 50 in your books. And what was your initial reaction to all the material? The video that you were assigned as your homework, this lovely, according to Harvard Business Review. I want to hear your thoughts. If I could just have one or two volunteers.
I think the idea of the motivation piece is important, and connecting with people. And it really isn't just about leading, you know what I mean? Because I forgot what group I was in. I think it was, I don't know who it was. Jack, maybe. Like, I used to be a restaurant manager, right? And like, I would never ask my people to do things that I haven't done already or was willing to do or was willing to do again. You know what I mean? So that pedestal thinking is not helpful.
Thank you. Can I have one more? How about Steve? You want to share your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting because my supervisor, I think it was his first time in a supervisory role, and it's and I have been in supervisory roles for most of my career, and just watching him develop and how he motivates all of us has been fantastic. And he's somebody that does take the deep dive into how he comes across and how he motivates us. And equally as important is he, he's very readily able to accept constructive criticism. And I think that's a huge piece here, because we've got recovery coaches coming in that are very young and inexperienced, and we have some that are older and very experienced, and vice versa. And I've learned some of my most important lessons from new recoveries, and being open to that kind of being open-minded like that as a leader, it is very important.
Thank you for that. And so if you guys, in one word definition of leadership, if I can have you all drop it in the chat, that would be great. And I'm going to point out also in the article, it talks a lot about leaders have to do self-development, self-care, constantly working on ourselves to lead, because we initially affect people we supervise. It's energy, it's vocabulary, it's how we deliver things in emails, et cetera, et cetera. So as a leader, and it's our huge responsibility to continue to do self-care and take care of ourselves and do self-growth and model it for the people that are coming up beside us. William White talks about it in Recovery Rising. He says, as leaders, we have a responsibility to grow leaders so this field can be sustainable for the future. That was a mishap, back in when you read a lot of his research and stuff. It was a mishap that was created in the 90s and the 80s. They didn't do that. So us as leaders have a huge responsibility to do that. And I can see motivated, example, role model, guidance, vision. Yes, all great. Perfect. And if we could turn to page 51 in your books, and what was your experience, or how do you feel about the common leadership styles? If I could have one or two people share on their preferred leadership styles or how they feel that they are a leader, I would really be grateful for that.
I like the demographic leadership style, in the fact that everyone is encouraged to work together and everyone is encouraged to participate, with the idea of everyone is a resource, whether you're a recovery or you're a supervisor or you're a recovery coach. Everyone has something to add, in my opinion, to the team approach. If I don't know something, maybe one of my, and like the ability to look at ourselves and be vulnerable.
Thank you for that. And Harvard has another article on passing the ball. They use exactly what Mark was using earlier with athletes. And when a football player passes the ball, they know the expectation of it, and or there's an expectation of the players on the field. So when we pass the ball to other people, now they have an expectation and they're in control and get to guide the ship. So I love that you said that, and then it gives them more power to have an input on what we're doing in our organizations.
Right.
Can I have one more?
You know, something I learned about passing the ball and always never dropping the ball is sometimes you never get the support because of that. And every once in a while you need to drop the ball so management knows that you need the help, because they don't realize it when you keep saving the ball and never letting it hit the ground, you know. But when you let it hit the ground, maybe once a year, every other year, just so that they know that, you know, you need help if they won't listen to you any other way or give you the resources, you know. Something that somebody taught me a long time ago.
And that's great. And it's talking about self-care too. Like, what do I need to be a good leader and model it for the people that I'm supervising or within my organization or education and all those other things? Yes. You know, I need help here. I'm drowning. Sometimes our responsibilities are overloaded. Can I have one more volunteer on their common leadership styles?
I love the servant. A servant leadership is a philosophy in which the main goal is of the leader to serve. That's I got more understanding that way by working shoulder to shoulder with folks than I ever did by having this label of, you know, boss, a supervisor, a coordinator. Now I'm a manager. They call me. I'm a manager. I'm a coordinator. Until the real decisions get done, then I'm a coach. But I'd love to think I'm transformational leadership. You know what I mean? Getting folks all psyched up to raise each other up and stuff. Sometimes I can be that. I circle like 3 of these, but mostly the democratic, participative. How do you say that? Participative. Mark, participative. So leadership is style of leadership. Members work together to make decisions, and participative leadership is also democratic, as everyone is encouraged to participate, right? So I like those 3: serving, everyone participates, and transformational. You know, like raising each other up.
Yeah, Jack. Thank you for saying that too. Because like I fall into a couple different categories, and I think everyone we don't fit in a box. We're human beings having a human experience. You know, you might favor one, but I certainly, for me, go in different categories because we don't fit in a box. None of us do. So if we could turn to page 53, all about leadership, partner exercise. This is partner exercise. So again, we're going to do in breakout groups. There'll be 3. You'll be assigned that. We'll need a reporter and a recorder to report back to the group. And in this breakout group, your goal is to apply what you're learning about system thinking and leadership styles to improve interaction with those you lead and to whom you are accountable. Then there are 2 questions. Use prompts. Oh, that's okay. And then on page 54, there's a chart. You can also use that to guide your work in your breakout rooms. Does someone want to repeat back to me the directions, or do you all understand? Can I have a volunteer? Eddie? You're on mute.
Sorry. Basically, to apply what we just discussed and learn, and to use prompts to guide the conversation, and use this to put it together, and the takeaway.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eddie. Muchas gracias. So that, thank you. So you'll have about 10 minutes and 10 minutes Mark, in the breakout room, and we're gonna go. Awesome. What am I doing wrong?
Why would you say that?
Because every time I talk, they're quiet. And I'm like shaking, sweating.
Don't get uncomfortable with quietness.
Okay.
Because if you start getting uncomfortable, uncomfortable with it, then you're going to be starting to think. And when you think, you can't focus. If you can't focus, just keep it moving.
Good timing.
Yes, you're injecting, you're giving information, you're keeping them moving, you're calling on people. That's how you deal with that. And you've been doing that. So they can't speak if you're speaking or if you're calling on somebody. So I don't know what are you looking for?
Okay. I don't know.
No, they're moving.
I'm just nervous. Thank you.
You
know I like to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're moving. What I'm gonna say though, because my piece is 35 minutes, I'm gonna do it in 25. I gotta take 10 minutes off. So that means you have to be done at least by 11 o'clock. So we'll be able to get them to
to lunch. I can do it. I'll just we got the 3 groups. Okay.
You have 5 groups.
Oh, 5 groups, 5 reporters.
Dyads.
They're dyads. All you
What's
do is
the difference between dyad and
dyad is 2. Dyad is 2, triad is 3.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you have small groups, that's anything bigger than 3. But we only have people, so that's still would be small groups.
So 5 groups.
Yes.
Okay.
So you just take one takeaway from each one. Thank you, and let's go to the next one. Thank you. And then if you can get through all 5 of them, right, Kim? If you get through all 5 of them, then you can start asking, going a little bit more, because just pay attention to your time. If you get through all, what time are they coming back? Let me see how much time they got. They got 7 more minutes, which brings them. They'll be back at 10:50.
Okay.
So that means you have 10 minutes. So that's why you just take one from each.
So Mark, I can do the very last piece. Just the little. They're gonna have a poll, with the very last, like, all right, everyone, here's. Don't forget to do all of the.
You talking about the poll closing out?
Yeah, just the closing out piece.
Oh, absolutely, because you're gonna do the video. You're already gonna have the floor, so absolutely.
Right. Perfect.
You're already gonna have the floor, so.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom before how much time do I get? 2 seconds?
You have
2
5
minutes?
minutes.
Oh, I'm going to the ladies' room. I'll be right back.
Yep. Okay.
I drink a lot of coffee.
Coffee, yeah.
I could use one of those, actually.
Yeah, it's a diuretic. Okay. Yeah, this is some good stuff. It's some good stuff. I'm gonna maneuver it, man. Let me see. I have to cut down what I would take from it. I'm already know what I'm gonna do. They supposed to put visual tools in the chat, balance wheels. What are some other visual tools?
For
visual tool, balance, visual tools that tools you use when you're trying to give examples and you're working with. So I want them to put some in the chat. That takes me straight to
for the leadership matrix piece.
Yes. Matter of fact, ain't this a breakout? Yeah, they have a small breakout. So I don't want to be no longer than 5 minutes processing in the beginning and then going straight to 5 to 7 minutes, because I sent them in a breakout room for 10 minutes. Yeah,
And I want all the feedback you guys can give me when this is all over. I'm good at taking it.
I
Give it
didn't
a-
send that email to Julia yet. I want to send it all together. So at the end, we'll debrief real quick and
Okay.
and then I'll put an email together to send to Julia.
leveraging. Give me
You're the best. Thank you, Paul.
the matrix.
Not without you guys, I ain't.
It's a smile. Ah, there it is. The beautiful smile. Yes. Makes me smile when I see you smile.
Yay. Yay. Hey,
Yes.
that green behind you is awesome, Mark.
Huh?
That green
green?
behind
Oh,
you.
thank you, man.
Looks really nice. I've noticed it a couple times and
Yes, sir.
Is that a background on your?
It's just a plain old wall.
Okay.
Plain old wall. Something else to build.
Oh, dear Jesus.
Shape. Yeah, so okay.
Marianne
3 minutes.
with her cool denim cutoff jean jacket.
And she about to get on one of them Harley Davis 1200 powers.
Yeah, right. That was
What does it feel like to have all that power up under you? Whoom, whoom, whoom.
Oh, I'm telling you, I love the power.
The leader of the pack.
Yes.
I like that song.
Talk about leadership. Yay.
I'm trying, oh my God, I'm going crazy with these, the changes of the page numbers.
Right.
Advantage.
Uh-oh. Time to fill. Yes. And I got my girl boss cup.
Girl boss.
Girl boss. Woo.
To the environments.
Know something?
So Angela just texted me and she said Sarah and DJ have been in the same breakout room.
And
That's what I said. That's exactly, Mark, you are my brother. Oh my God. I was like, okay.
they were randomly picked. That
Wait until she does it.
yeah, that's what's up. Listen.
Oh my God, you're funny. Yes.
I'm trying to find. All about leadership. Okay, I'm bringing them back. The 4 seconds, they're coming. And there they go. Carmen is the first one in the house, and she gets a prize.
And we're back
Yes.
Awesome.
from outer space.
Thank you. Thank you. So if we could have just one little snippet of what you guys discussed in your breakout room from each group. Group 1 was Carmen.
Had to unmute there. So we went down that breakout form, and and this is all pre-COVID because a lot's changed over the last year. But my team consists of a supervisor and 5 recovery coaches, 3 of which were hired during COVID.
Wow.
And Carmen's 2 teams with recovery coaches, volunteers, and then members. So I'm accountable to a supervisor and a program director, as well as, I think more importantly, to the patients that come through the door, and as is Carmen, to the members that come into their center. Leadership style. So Carmen, you might have to help me out here a second, but with the staff, Carmen talked about being kind of transformational.
The other way around. Yeah. Democratic.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then with the members, more transformational. Mine, I think we're all combinations of these. I think is transformational, democratic, and then on some level, authoritarian, because somebody's got to drive the bus at the end of the day. And it was funny on what could I do differently. Almost simultaneously, we both said more education around recovery. And and then the takeaway, same thing. Almost simultaneously, we both said open-mindedness. So.
Thank you. All right, next group's up is group number 2, Michael. And
Paul, I believe, Paul, did you take down your note?
I'm sorry, Paul.
Oh, do you want to do it, Michael? I wrote stuff down though.
No, go ahead. You can go ahead.
So a lot of their takeaway was so our teams were, his was a lot different because he had a lot more people that he had working for him, or supporting them, and I was both accountable to organizations, the government, BSAS, and the agency, the staff, and the people that he worked with, who were his staff. And the leadership style was yours was, I'm sorry, I just want to get yours right, Michael. Mine was more transactional, and it was yours was servant, right?
Yeah.
And what was the other first one?
Democratic.
And democratic. And if he could do anything, it would be I think it was more training, and I think we both said time management. And what was your other one, Michael? I'm sorry.
No, it's what I would do differently is be accessible more.
Yeah, be more accessible to your team, because he is one of those people that never says no. I think we both said that we just never say no to people when they ask for help, and that can be a problem. But it's just who we are, is when people call, you answer the phone. And when people find out you answer the phone, they never stop calling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how are you gonna how are we, because I think most of us suffer from that, is practicing self-care when we need to take time and space for our self-care as leaders and a responsibility. So when stuff gets too much, and the phone calls continue to happen, we need to put ourselves priority.
We were gonna add 3 more hours to the day and see if Congress would pass that. No, but
turning off the phone at a certain time and then leaving it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah, really. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. How about group 3, Julia's group? Who would love to report?
I will.
Awesome.
Okay, so Autumn and myself. So our team consists of recovery coaches, harm reduction specialists, social workers, coordinators, directors, clinicians, doctors, prescribers, but most importantly, peers. So we're accountable to the directors and other recovery coach supervisors, our funding sources, health insurance, our stakeholders. And here at our center, I'm accountable to the peer advisory committee as well as the board of directors. Our leadership style, we kind of it was kind of cohesive because democratically, and here's the bonus point for Autumn: encouraging recovery focused systems of care. RASC. Absolutely. And with that transformational engagement of the participants in rebuilding their lives. The things that we could do differently, being more open to new ideas and new ways of providing programs and services, and educational opportunities and suggestions. And the takeaway that we decided on, I think, Autumn, is the broadening scope of opportunities. Yes. Okay.
Really good. Thank you so much. And group number 4, Sarah's group.
Well, Sarah and we created our own center. Yep. So the first thing we were looking for is a diverse representation of our center through our employees. And so the divine just dropped these 5 people off that. So other than a board of directors, it's going to look like it's going to be democratic with a hint of service. We'll have an executive director, which is a member of the board that oversees everything, but that doesn't mean you can get your fingers into everything. You just make sure they're making sure everything's smooth. Then we have the director of the center and a floor manager that does the data and input. And we have an outreach coordinator that is in charge of media. And we have a grant writer that will assist the director because they're both working with funding. And then we want 4 stipend volunteers in the truest sense of not keeping them for years. Because I thought the whole purpose was to teach people to get back into the community, how to write a resume and learn and get on. So when they're ready to go off on their own, that's what we'll do, and replace them with another peer volunteer. And we'll have a peer advisory committee, and it's interconnected because we'll share the same commitment to our purpose. We all have something we're good at, and like a puzzle, if you put us all together, you're going to get a great team. We will be accountable to, first of all, each other. And we're accountable to the communities we serve as well as the members that join with us. And we're going to also be accountable to BSAS and SAMHSA because we're planning on doing some grant writing. And that's it. I'll let you know when we open.
We'll be there.
Okay.
And group number 5, Eddie's group, if you can talk about your takeaway.
My poor brother Eddie, I had to go take a call and I left. I abandoned him, man.
Yeah, that's okay. I feel
I'm sorry, bro.
it was something important, but what I had was my team consists of myself, and I supervise one recovery coach, and I partner with the behavioral health care team that includes social worker, resource specialists, the primary care doctors, behavioral health specialists, and I'm accountable to the program manager on the behavioral side. So there's a lot of collaboration with Mass General and Brigham, and a lot of support from them. My leadership style serves me in as a recovery coach supervisor, and also to support the person I supervise. And I have a combination of style that resonate. It was democratic, transformational, and servant. But at the same time, I like to say that there's a part of me that sometimes could be, dictator. As much as I hate to admit it. And I could do differently is to understand more system thinking, which is new to me because I'm new to the being a supervisor to recovery coach. So changing my thinking from providing that, which I still do, direct service to the participants, but I also have to think more of a supervisor and how to navigate the system with the people that I'm supporting and the person that I'm supervising. Because I go to more hands-on, be the recovery coach, So I have to now own that title of supervisor, So understanding system thinking, I need to really, eat it up so I could really understand it. And different, and what I would improve, what I would do different to improve by doing the system thinking is my leadership skills. I need to improve my leadership skills and my influence that I have on others, and the takeaway, in a nutshell, I have so much to learn. I have a lot to learn. I know nothing.
And what a great wrap up for this session. We all are like students, complete students for the rest of our lives when you love the art and work that you do and continue to learn and grow. And thank you for that, Eddie. I appreciate it. I'm going to turn it over to my lovely friend, Mark, over here, Mr. Mark, and he's going to lead you into leveraging leadership.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. I'd like to thank everybody for riding BSAS, where we had a little turbulence, so we may be landing in Logan about roughly 11:35, hopefully no later than 11:40. Just bear with us. But before we land, I'd like to take us through another module. Since we just finished talking about leadership, let's take a look at this module. If you turn to page 55, leveraging leadership matrix, meaning how do we get an advantage with our leadership matrix, meaning being in an environment that we can form or shape. So looking at things as a whole can strengthen critical thinking skills, problem solving capacity, and supervisor competency. Having a tool with which to view things can make the whole picture a lot more manageable. For the next exercise, we will use the following tool. There are different tools people can use. You got graphs, you got charts, you got maps, you got balance wheels. This is a particular tool. Can everybody see this? This is a particular tool that we're about to use. And if we look up here at the screen or in your book, what we do, on the top, you have policy, structures, and practices. Then it says this line here, which divides it to show at the bottom who we are. Who we are, our culture makes up who we are, which also gives us an identity. An identity also from our culture, we also accumulate a certain amount of knowledge based upon who we are and what we are and where we come from. And also the field you may work in. But when you look at top structure, how is your organization structured? What policies do they have in place? And what are some of the practices that they do? So that would deal with what we do. Did everybody follow me so far how this works? Okay, beautiful. So at the bottom of the page, it says in systems, who we are affects what we do and vice versa. Identifying the specific origins of conflict and support above and below the line can help us prioritize systemic improvements and visualize strategies for success. So let me just bring this back. So what I want us to do, if we turn to page 56, and we look up at the top of the page, rise to the challenge. This is going to be the scenario. It says, your staff has let you know that they are being asked to do things that run counter to their understanding of the peer role in non-clinical lane. So they're in the environment, and they're being asked to do something that's counter to their role that they're supposed to be doing. So-called peer drift is a common problem now that peers are being incorporated into a wide variety of environments or systems. How will you champion the underlying spirit, principles, and practices of your staff members in the peer role itself? That's the scenario we're going to be working with, everybody. So in your small groups, we need a timekeeper. We're going to pay attention to the time. And the reporter, whoever's recording will be the reporter. So we want to confirm all understand the goal and share in the process. That's what we're doing now. So everybody shares in the process. We go in our breakout rooms. And then when we come back and we turn, we want to present what we came up with. So in this breakout, your goal is to imagine how you might use system thinking, what Paul just took us through. And everyone did a wonderful job how y'all broke that down, understanding how systems work and how they impact you where you're working at. Self-insight, which just means discernment. To me, we look at it another way. Self-insight. You want to use your discernment when you come to this conclusion that you're about to do. And leadership skills that Kim just took us through. Whatever leadership skill you chose in that last module, you may want to use from that lens how you're going to come up with an answer. Skills to correct and prevent peer drift and advocate for consistent adherence to peer principles. So we're going to use this leveraging leadership matrix to frame our discussion and respond to the prompts. So if we turn to page 57, I want to be real clear with this, because it's real simple. It says, what do we suspect is the root cause of the peer drift? So You have 6 items here. I don't know. I'm going to give you an example. Some may say the root cause may be culture. Some may say the root cause may be structure. Whatever you choose, choose it, but be able to explain what that is, what you believe is the root cause that they can't function within this environment. Then the 3 specific above and below the line factors that present barriers to correcting, preventing this peer drift in our organization. When it says 3 specific, it's exactly what you see. You got 3 above and 3 below. So you pick the 3 that you think is affecting this individual in that environment. Is it structure? Is it culture and identity? Whatever 3 you choose is based upon your leadership skill and how you are system thinking. Then at the bottom, an alliance or piece of information we could leverage to reduce peer drift. So we want to, what advantageous knowledge or information that you have that can convince wherever you're working at, to convince them so that this person does not fall, or you can help them to reduce that peer drift in the environment that they're working in. Does everybody understand?
Question.
Yes, Eddie.
So in the 3 specific, it could be a combination of above and beneath. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And remember, when you look at above, it says what we do. And when you look at it below, it says who we are.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
whatever you come up with in your group, Steve, you follow it? Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. So I'm about to send y'all out into your breakout rooms in 10 minutes. And can't wait to see what y'all have when you come back. Whoosh. Oh, there you go. Woo.
It says Mark Muhammad is inviting you back to the group. Do you what did you
Yeah.
click on something?
Yeah, when y'all go in there, I already have the breakout room open. So when I see your name in the room, I just slide, it says move to, and I move you back in the main room instead of leaving you there. Yes, and you can come out.
Return to sender.
Absolutely. So
Return.
Kim, what you experienced was called a jam log. I loved how you handled it. I loved how you didn't, you made sure you processed people's words. You didn't have to say, folks, we got to get to the next module. You did it smooth. Perfectly fine. So that left it upon me. Now I said, let me be creative. I won't end this at exactly 11:30, but I'm going to end it because I have to process this. So I knew I had to read this, but I had to give it some levity too. But I wanted to make sure that they was understanding what I read and to use this module. I seen nods, they was following it. So I wanted to make sure I processed this with them. So now when they come back, I can just move them. Yeah, I didn't have the whole 35 time, and we want to respect the time. We got to get them out as much as possible. But I reminded them we started late. So technically we don't end at 11:30. We really end at 11:35. So,
And what a few folks had come in late. So
yes. So I thought of something creative, but normally I would have wanted them to read. I wanted them to read, and that I would have took probably 15. I would have took 15 minutes just going over stuff with them because it's 35 minutes, and then I would have sent them to the rooms for 10 minutes. That 15 would have been 25. No, probably 10 minutes going over the material. 10 minutes in the room. They would have came back. That's 20 minutes, right? I would have 15 minutes to process with them. That's what this module tells me to do. 10, 10, 15. And if you keep that in your mind and module, because what do I want them to be able to understand that there's a model that they can use. I thought this was a beautiful model. I try to go online and find it to get more information. I will find it to study it. Kim, you're muted.
You did a fantastic job explaining that.
Yeah. Well,
because it looks complicated and
it listen, when I've been
did a great job.
Paul, I just really started figuring out, and see, they have 3 Pacific in yellow. So that means to focus on these particular things. You don't make up stuff right here. It's all here. Is it culture?
Right.
If I say it's culture, then I explain why the culture didn't function with them, and which caused the peer drift, in that organization. Oh, I should have. Oh,
Right,
that's
it's like getting specific, it's like the
Absolutely.
specifics of what piece, what policy, or what structure, or what piece of the culture,
only thing they don't let you cut and paste to send. I wanted to send. Let me see if I got it.
It sends limited, it's like Twitter with limited, characters or whatever.
Yeah, I wanted to send the definition for peer drift. Let me see if it lets me do it, because it didn't let me the other day. Because yeah, it doesn't let me. That's too much to write out. Another thing, I if you don't know a peer, I know what I do. I tell them Google peer drift for definition.
I actually, I just looked it up because it fits right into, the ethical fading that I've been talking about for a little bit. But I came across like a whole bunch of curriculum on it,
Oh, it is.
which is great. It's all in ethics.
Yeah, it's something to think about, because there's a lot of peer drifting going on at these agencies.
Oh,
That's what Faye is battling.
oh yeah.
Yeah, she's
Her and
fighting.
a couple of hundred other coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. Peer drifting. So when they come back,
I don't know much about peer drifting. I mean,
this is the first time I heard of it.
The idea
But
is
I understand it now.
think of like maintaining the model, right? And then little by little, oh, can you go and go out there and put it on Facebook, or like
I'm just gonna jump in.
you're being asked to do things that really aren't, why would I put things on my personal Facebook for the organization, or you know what I mean? Like the organization should have their own virtual thing going.
Yeah. Okay.
Doing things that are outside of the role, really.
Right.
So now it's slowly getting away from what you're supposed to be doing as a recovery coach. Or now you're going to take on hey, go collect urines, or go fill out the housing not the housing forms, but go do an assessment, all that kind of stuff.
Be a cab driver.
I'll be a cab driver, and so on and so forth. So now
That is so dangerous. And my pet peeve is the driving. It's so dangerous. Wait until if God forbid, but if something ever happens, you're having women driving men recoveries, right?
Yeah, that could be.
That could be.
That could be
Yeah.
challenging.
You're on mute, Mr. Mark.
No, I know. I'm jumping into rooms.
Oh. Are you tired, Paul?
Am I tired? I'm actually downloading Marion's thing that she sent, the development plan. I am maybe I'm conserving energy for this afternoon. I am a little bit
I'm feeling it.
tired. I'm not that tired. I actually slept 5.5 hours. Mark is muted.
5.5 hours. Woohoo.
Yeah.
If they really understood when they come back, they process it, they're gonna probably have been finished. If they haven't finished, it lets me know going forward, these have to be like 15-minute breakout rooms. You know?
Yeah, it all needs more time.
Absolutely.
I mean, really. Yeah. I kind of miss the doing the 2 days and then having a month for them to start really sifting through. And I thought that was a really great model.
I never did that. I mean, I did it to get this, but never trained it. The pandemic hit. I was about to, but then the pandemic hit. Yeah. So let me see what my time it is. It's 7:20. Yeah, it's plane will be landing about right. The BSAS plane. That's what this is. Welcome aboard to the BSAS plane. We will be leaving in a few minutes. And we're gonna let our stewardess, Miss Marianne, could you mind instructing the people what are they supposed to do in case of emergency? Well, I don't know what they supposed to do. Hey, that's Marianne. I know what I'm gonna do. If this plane starts going down, I got my own parachute over here. Marianne, you can't say that. What?
All I heard was my name. I missed that.
Oh, shucks. I said you are our stewardess.
There we go. 10 minutes,
Here we
Mr.
go.
Mark.
I'm the co-pilot. What are you talking about?
Oh,
Nice.
okay. Okay, you could be the co-pilot.
I used to be the first mate when we had a boat.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
Great, 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 great. Oh, so how was that?
Too short.
I know. Touche, 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 touche. I heard y'all processing too. One group said they was on the end. Other group was writing stuff out. So first group, Autumn, Julia. Oh, it's only two in your room. Interesting. Autumn.
Yeah, so it was me and Julia, and so we feel that the root cause of this peer drift is clarity around the peer role. And that could be defined using the matrix as policies or practices.
Oh, beautiful.
So 3 specific above or below the line factors that present barriers, is the scope of practice, again, practice, specific policies and procedures. So we'd use policies again, and then knowledge around job. And then an alliance or piece of information we could leverage to reduce peer drifts. We felt that could, with the people we're supervising, through supervision, that having that open line of communication so that they can talk about their their problem with feeling why they can't do this. And that's solely based upon like our positive relationship with them. And we could address it through training and education. A lot of it is, staying in your own lane type of deal. And like, is this really your job? We can look at that through, even the definitions back from RCA of like what we do and what we don't do. And that's it.
Thank you. Excellent job. Excellent job. Now my next crew, Eddie, Jack, Michael, and Sarah.
Okay.
Y'all a big group.
I'll start the reporting, but we are going to jump in as I need help. Jack brought up the specific recovery coach that has finished the academy training. He's all pumped up to do peer recovery coach supporting. He gets hired into this organization that has to deal with punitive consequences if the participant that this recovery coach is helping doesn't comply. So he's being asked to do things. He's being drifted into things that are moving him to clinical situation that breaks that relationship with the peer and the recovery coach. So what we had put down for the first one, that we think that the root cause of this peer drift is identity.
Right on.
And then the third specific factors that present barrier preventing this drift in our organization is the structure, the culture, the knowledge, or the lack of knowledge, in this case.
Wow.
And a lines or piece of information we could leverage to reduce peer drift, clear identity, and policies.
Policy.
Oh, beautiful.
Beautiful, man.
Beautiful.
Any input from Sarah or Michael or?
Yeah, no, we talked about how this kid's on fire coming out of the academy, wanting to be I'm going to get out there and recovery coach, and he's all on fire. Now he's hired by a mental health organization who have a culture of clinical, work where they're asking him if Johnny doesn't show up for his IOP class, you've got to report him to his probation officer, because now he's also put into that role. So he's putting it into the courthouse, the drug court, right? Working there where they come from a punitive standpoint, right? So he's supposed to be helping this guy. Meanwhile, the probation officer says, listen, Charlie, I know you're a recovery coach, but you got to call me, man. If this dude doesn't show up for group, he's got to go back to jail. Now, all of a sudden, this poor guy feels like, so that was what we were talking about the identity and going into different structures and cultures, The hospital is a whole other thing. Yeah, we need an hour for that, but yeah.
I thank you for Jack and for sharing that. And that's why this particular module is leveraging our leadership in a matrix. A matrix, as I said, is that the environments where people are shaped or formed at. Most times they're in environments they don't think they're nothing. They've always been told they was nothing, and then they begin to believe that that's a matrix. How do you get a person out of a matrix? And that's what we do as recovery coach supervisors, when we're working with our recovery coaches, to give them some information how they can leverage that and have it so that the recovery can have an advantage. Give them an advantage. Advantage comes for us being able to see how things are laid out. Thank y'all for sharing. Y'all are doing wonderful. Wonderful. Last group, Ms. Carmen, DJ, and Paul B.
I took some notes as we went through it. What do we suspect the root cause of this peer drift? One of the pieces, and we kind of gave some examples of being asked to do stuff that's not really in our job. We're not drug testers. And, both Paul and I, in our settings, we don't find detoxes. Our job is to connect with folks in the ED. And then, one of the other issues is because, I work closely with psych triage, and very often we're asked to speak with patients that not only have addiction issues, but have very, very serious mental health issues that we're not equipped to deal with that necessarily. There's a couple of things we looked at above and below the line is structure, the upper level administration, and another piece is our own identity, that most people in this field are doers and helpers and whatnot, and we might inadvertently kind of step out of our own lane and whatnot. And I think when it's all said and done, a piece of information we could leverage to reduce peer drift is having a very, very clear job description. Because if you look at job descriptions for recovery coaches, probably in, I'm looking at the Hollywood Squares here. There's probably a different one for each person sitting in this room.
Wow. Wow, Steve. Steve just brought us home. Reality. Reality. Absolutely, Steve. And this is what I want to say before I turn it over to Mr. Paul. Please utilize this model. I think this is there are others out there too. There are others out there. But to have a visual tool when something is going on, and as a supervisor, you can always draw this up. You know what it means now. But by practicing this can be something our go-to play. Everyone this is our Hail Mary. I'm just going to say it like that. Something going wrong, this is what we can throw up. Write it out, we go through it, we process it, and then we come with a solution because we want to know how to do what? Leverage our leadership when we're working with our recovery coaches so that we can help them within an organization and agency. Okay? Thank each and every one of you for sharing. What a beautiful job. Yes, Eddie?
One question. Now,
Yes.
if I want to dig deeper into this, is there a resource in the back for this specific thing? Or because I didn't watch the video, be honest.
I tell you what, Mr. Eddie, if there's not resources in the back, my favorite tool is called Google.
Oh, that's my secretary.
Eddie, once you YouTube that one video, like a whole bunch of other,
Okay.
Jack already watched a whole bunch of other videos.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of stuff that'll come up,
All right. Good.
in different
That's
models
awesome.
and whatnot. So you can use all of it. And I always encourage, anywhere you can get information and pull from that you can identify, hey, I could possibly use this, or I'm recognizing that this overlaps with our work or recovery coaching, or use it. Right?
Cool. Thank
So,
you.
Hey, thank you, everyone. What an awesome morning. We have one more module to go this afternoon at 12:30. So I want to thank you. There is one more little thing. If you have to go, to lunch or whatnot, by all means, please do so. We will see you back at 12:30. But there's a little video now that we're talking about leadership and stewardship and fidelity to the model. Just wanted to show a really wonderful little piece. It's very short. So something to take you to lunch. All right. So here we go.
Bring it on.
And when we think about substance use and addiction and the opioid epidemic, these are the people that are the most underserved and the most vulnerable.
The Recovery Coach program here at Everett Hospital, they take referrals from the inpatient medical surgical units, from the inpatient psychiatric units, and from patients coming into the ED with addiction issues.
It doesn't really work if we give the patient a piece of paper with the address of a place where they can go. What they really need is a warmer handoff. They need someone to help them make that transition, to really bridge the gap between the emergency departments and outpatient services.
The recovery coaches receive the consult. They go and they meet with the patient. They attempt to engage the patient. And if the patients who are willing to engage, they then co-create a plan of recovery with that patient.
From projects, poverty, violence, my own addiction, whoever comes through here, I can connect with them. I find something to connect with them with. Now, whether that's that they're homeless, I felt that. If they're afraid to go back into detox or they've never been to detox, I've had that fear.
The recovery coach in this case, it's important. The idea of having someone, a peer, who have lived experience and that knows the system and went through. The recovery coaches can speak from their heart.
My son is a heroin addict, so it's personal to me. So when I have a kid, a young lady coming in, 23 years old, that's my kid. I've had more staff from the hospital pull me aside, and they have a son, a daughter, a nephew, a dad that's affected. So this is personal not only to me, having lived it, it's personal to everyone. All of us know somebody that's been affected by addiction, alcoholism. These are our children. These are your children.
Having colleagues that you work with every day and that they share the same passion that you have to identify patient needs, they do all they can to actually bring those resources for our patients is just simply inspirational.
That looks like Jack.
Oh, thank you guys. I was saying, who's that old dude, man?
That's incredible.
That
Wow.
Jack
Yes.
Harper's killing it, huh?
Congratulations. That's great.
That was a couple of years ago. Yeah.
And you can tell they like you. Those people
Thank
like
you.
you in that hospital.
He didn't know we were going to show this. He had no idea.
Hell no. I sent it to Marion because I thought she'd get a kick out of it.
Look at
Got
the
it. I
smile
saw it
on the
this
people's
morning,
faces.
Jack.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
wow.
thought it was perfect for this, talking about leadership and to have an example and a display.
Awesome,
Thank you
awesome.
for that, Jack.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Have a wonderful lunch. We'll see you back at 12:30, everyone.
All right.
Okay,
You
can
too,
I just make a
guys.
quick announcement before everyone leaves? Oh, they're leaving. Anyway, I have to close this meeting down and then open it back up because I'm in the office and I'm running home. So if you just click on the link that you got after you registered this morning and come back in, okay?
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Marion.